Says the Holy Alter Rebbe, we're holding on page 188 of Torah or Meggilat Esther, at the bottom of the page. So the Megillah says, this is the beginning of chapter 8, on that day King Achashverosh gave Queen Esther the state of Haman, persecutor of the Jews, and Mordechai came before the king, for Esther has told the king how he was related to her, and the king removed his signet ring, which he had taken from Haman, and gave it to Mordechai, and Esther put Mordechai in charge of Haman's estate. And now it says, Vatosef Esther, Vatidaber lifnei HaMelech, Vatipo lifnei Ragla, Vateif, Vatischanan loy, Lahavir es Ras, Haman HaGagi, Ve'es machashavtoi asher choshav al Yehudim. Esther again spoke before the king and fell before his feet, and she cried and begged him to nullify the evil decree of Haman the Agagite and his plot that he had plotted against the Jews. So what happened? The king extended the golden scepter to Esther, and Esther rose and stood before the king. She said, if it pleases the king, and if I have found favor before him, and the idea is proper to the king, and I am pleasing in his eyes, let an order be issued ordering the withdrawal of the letters containing the plot of Haman, son of Hamdasa the Agagite, in which he ordered the destruction of the Jews throughout the king's provinces. For how can I behold the calamity that will befall my people, and how can I behold the destruction of my race? This is the context of the pasuk. So says the Holy Alter Rebbe, "V'hinei eich shayach lefanav yizbarach loibar lifnei raglav." As we know that there is tremendous anthropomorphism in the Megillah, implying that every time it says the word Melech, it really implies a king, and if that, it implies Hashem, and therefore, if the implication of when it says Hamelech is Hashem, then how is it possible that he can have feet? What is the meaning of him before that she fell before his feet? Don't we know that Hashem doesn't even have mimicking of a body, let alone a body? However, the concept is really it's the explanation of the essence of what prayer is, and how it's possible that every single Jew, every single person can pray. The Jewish people as a collective are known as the name Esther. For she, the soul, has many names. Sometimes the soul can be called Rachel, when she is in a state of revelation. That when the soul is in a state of full expression, implying that the vitality is included back in its source, as it's written, like a sheep before her shearers, she is silent. So that usually we say that in a negative way, but here he's saying it in a positive, right? Where does noise come from? Noise comes from a sense of distance and dissonance. But here there's a silence. Shall I even say silence of the lambs? Yeah, this is it. She is silent before her shearer, implying that bittul, the nullification, the silentness of the soul, that there is no distance. That when there's such closeness, there's no speech, likened to the Shemona Esrei compared to the other aspects of davening. So when is the Jewish soul called Rachel? When she is included, when she is perceptive of the vitality of her essence, of her source. Like sheep to the slaughter. She poishetes tzavar l'shchita b'ratzin pasha, that she extends her neck towards being slaughtered with her own will, with a simple will. V'kachu b'chol echad v'echad m'Yisrael, so too in the capacity for every single Jew, sheyehiritzoynei li'batul li'likal be'eris barich, that within their own volition and desire is to become included and nullified and realigned with the light of godliness, l'meh ve'echad v'echad, to become one with one, to fuse together, to meld together oneness with oneness. Like it's written, that the glory is upon the heavens, the earth and heavens, and upon the earth is the radiance of his glory, and the whole entire earth is filled with his glory. Implying that the extension and the emanation of his shine and radiance is upon the whole entire world, and therefore the whole entire world is considered like a ray of the sun within the sun orb. and it's absolutely nullified and contained and included within its source. And all times in which the soul is feeling this palpably and in an exposed way, without concealment, Nikra b'chinas Rachel. She's called Rachel. Kitzoin tivcha, like a sheep to the slaughter. Again, in the positive sense. What's pshat, a sheep to the slaughter? That the soul. What happens when you shecht, right? Shchita miloshin mashach. The word in Hebrew, we don't use the word to kill the animal. We use the word shchita. Which shchita implies the idea of drawing forth. That you're revealing the essence or purpose of this animal. So to the godly soul, when it is absolutely attuned and aligned with its essence, from its own volition gives up its life and experiences her will as Hashem's will. However, in a time where there is no perceptivity to godliness, there's no revealed connection. Esther. The soul is called Esther. Like it's written, I will surely, God says, I will surely conceal my face on that day.
Double.
Yeah, surely, meaning absolutely, right? Meaning not just conceal, but absolutely conceal. And not like the world thinks that if something is not exposed, then he doesn't have it. Yeah? Meaning to say, just because something is concealed doesn't mean that it's not, that you don't have it. Just because you can't see my brain doesn't imply that I don't have one, even though I may act like I don't have one. Surely every single person has it. Every person has the capacity to experience their own depth of their soul. Esther, but it's in a way of Esther. It's in a way of concealment. And then the divine service becomes to reveal it from its hidden framework and from its concealment. The state or nature of this concealment is called like a rose among thorns. Like thorns, like thistles, which are concealing, blocking over, obstructing the progression, the growth of that rose. And all aspects of physical, material pursuits that is done with your whole heart and with your whole soul, implying that there's a tremendous sense of distraction from the truth of who you are. All of that is called thorns and thistles that create a distance and a dissonance between the revelation of the soul and the truth of the soul. This level of Esther, he misuteres b'yemahu, is concealed on that day. That I will surely conceal my face on that day, and this is understood. Now, he's going to explain more. What does it mean that I will surely conceal my face on that day? But what do we have? We have that the terminology, the label that we term the soul, when there is a perception, when there is an open connection, she's called Kerachel. Again, Lifnei Goyzezah Na'alma, in Chassidus we usually learn it in a negative thing. Lifnei Goyzezah Na'alma means before her shearers she is silent. That means to say that Malchus, as she extends into Bria Yitzirasiya, right, her shearers, those are the Klippa, that the Klippa surround her. And therefore there's a silence, that there's a muteness, not being able to connect to God in an open way. That's the usual way that we. That's the usual way that we teach it. Here he's teaching it in the healthy way, that you're not going down, you're going up. Because you're going up, therefore there's no need for noise. There's no need for music, right? There's no need for expression. Rather, there's an absolute alignment and synchronization with the soul that you don't need to do anything, right? That's it's showing the powerful communication between the soul and Hashem, open communication. Whereas Esther is the idea of the muteness. Esther is the idea that because there's a distance and there's a concealment, I can't see any growth. There are four categories in regards to divine revelation. One is called on that day. One is called on this day. One is called on that night, and one is called on this night. Right? When do we say on this night? Right? On this night is Pesach. Yeah? Meaning it's nighttime, but I can see revelation even though it's nighttime. Meaning I'm a slave, but I can see my freedom even though I'm getting out of my slavery.
What do we say on Hanukkah?
What?
What do we say on Hanukkah? We say Haner Salalu, these lights. You confuse me.
What's the difference between Ahu and Azeh?
So now we're going to explain. I'm just giving an example. Okay. Right? Bayoyim Ahu Yi Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad. Right? Bayoyim Azeh means full revelation. Right? Zeh Keli Banveu. This is my God and I'll glorify Him. Zeh, as opposed to Hu, implies personableness. There's open communication. It's vivid. It's tangible. Zeh. Bayoyim, Yoim means day. So you have double revelation. Bayoyim Hazeh means today. Don't type today like a day of the week. Rather, the revelation of this is fully attainable. Bayoyim Hahu, there's a revelation, but it's in a state of concealment, right? Bayoyim Hahu Yi Hashem Echad U'Shmo Echad. Of course, Hashem is Echad right now, but when is the revelation of that? That's Bayoyim Hahu on that day, so it's more distant. Balayla Hazeh, even though there's a darkness, nevertheless I can see godliness and light within the darkness. Balayla Hahu, that's the worst one. Balayla Hahu is the concealment within the concealment. Right? It's Laila, it's nighttime, and Hahu, that the revelation is distant. So now, right? It says, this is the day Hashem performed, right? This is the day that Hashem made. I will be glad and I will take joy in Him, right? So Zeh Hayoim is mamish full exposure, full expression, beauty, simcha. Then it says, and on that day Hashem brought salvation. Hashem saved the Jews. Bayoim Hahu. Uksiv halayla zeh leil shimurim. Halayla zeh is regarding the night of protection, which means to say Pesach night. Uksiv halayla zeh. How are you, sir? Uksiv balayla hahu nadad shnas hamelech. Yeah, ultimately there's all four examples. In our Megillah it says on that night, right? Pesach is on this night, right? On this night means to say I'm. There's still a sense of that I'm in Egypt. There's still a sense of darkness, but I see the light. Balayla hazeh leil shimurim. Purim was balayla hahu. So again, what did we just say about Purim? Bayoim hahu. Va'anoichi hastir panai bayoim hahu. Right? I will surely conceal my face on that day. But the Megillah says, Balayla hahu. On that night, Nadad Ashnas HaMelech, the sleep of the king was disturbed. Va'inin. What's the concept here? Ki bechina zeh hu lenoichach. The notion of zeh implies a personableness, something that is right here. Lenoichach literally means a presence. Like it's written, this is my God and I'll glorify Him. When I say this, right? This guy, right here, this guy, not that guy, right there, over there. For example, like a king of flesh and blood, that his entourage and his kingdom, when they see him, they become totally batal. So when we say Bayoim Hazeh, that implies full revelation, as if you're seeing it with your own eyes. And in that framework, from that vantage point, the world seems as if it's nothing. It's considered as if it's nothing. However, that which we do say elsewhere, that the world is in existence, a fixed identification that comes from non-existence. The Torah spoke in the language of man. We don't see the ayin. Yes, of course our world comes from ayin. Of course our world comes from non-existence and non-fixed identity. However, we don't see it. And therefore Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai on his deathbed had to bless his students, may it be Hashem's will that the fear, the reverence of heaven should be upon you like the fear of flesh and blood. Why? What a low bracha. Bless us with something better. These people were not Yerushalayim? No, because at the end of the day, you behave differently when somebody's watching you. That's the meaning of Zeh Hayoim. Right? This is the day. This is the day that I will take rejoicing in you because there's full revelation, there's no concealment. Zeh Hayoim. Yoim is the idea of revelation. Zeh is the idea of revelation. Aval, however, the notion of night implies the notion of darkness and concealment. You don't see anything. Even though you know, you have an awareness of godliness, you tried, you're motivated, you're inspired. In the moment that you finish davening, the moment that energy, that recognition dissipates, and that inspiration, that motivation was not captured, was not glued to your mind, it's called the psychological nighttime. Psychological nighttime means that I knew that there was day. It was just daytime for me. But what happens? Part of day becomes night. So I knew a moment ago I was davening, I was in dveikus, I was just thinking about Hashem. 1 second later, Yetzer Hara hits, and all I'm thinking about is my own taivas. Like the nighttime that just creeps on the day. Just enters in seamlessly. This is part of the nature of the world. Godliness was just here, but it didn't get integrated within my mind. However, even though there is a dissipation, a withdrawal of the godly recognition and awareness that my mind had, that's called Laila, but it could still be Zeh. At least I know. At least I know I have an addiction. At least I know I'm sick. At least I know I need help. So there's a revelation in the nighttime. There's a revelation. There's a Zeh and the Halayla. Halayla hazeh, halayla hazeh. Implying that there's a palpability. It says that the whole world is filled with His glory. What does it mean, His glory? Meaning His radiance and His emanation. It's also written, Hashem declares, do I not fill the heavens and earth? So how can you say both things? On the one hand, you're telling me that the makeup, the composition of this universe is only and merely His glimmer, His radiance. Right? It's only covered, it's only glory, it's only His honor, it's not Him. And then the next pasuk says, I myself, Ani Male, right? Not just a ziv, not just a Mloi Kol Haaretz Kvoidoi. Yeah? Mloi Kol Haaretz Kvoidoi means that the king's entourage is here. He's not here yet, right? You see the king's crown, you see the king's something that is reminiscent of his regality. But he himself is not here. No? What is this? What is this a conversation of? Shari Yichud V'Emunah discusses the difference between tzimtzum kipshutei, tzimtzum lav kipshutei. Yeah? Is the tzimtzum real or is it not real? Is it just a concealment or is there actual withdrawal? So from one pasuk, it seems that what? That there's a tzimtzum and there creates a discrepancy between our world and God's world and heaven. There's another pasuk that says, no, heaven and earth do I not fill. My essence is here. My essence is here as much as it is in heaven. Ushneim emes, and both of them are true. The fact that Hashem fills heaven and earth is true, and His essence is actually here. It's only that our body is too callous and insensitive to feel the revelation. And therefore it's concealing. However, the revelation of the whole world being filled with His glory, implying His emanation, His radiance, not His essence, is to enliven the world. This is the idea of the grasp and understanding and the integration so deeply that you become synchronized and aligned and perceive the world as if nothing is existing other than Hashem's presence. And even though it's at night, meaning even though, yes, you now have a revelation that there's a concealment, it could still be in a way of zeh. Implying that it's personable, it's next to you. I'm aware of my issue. Now look at this. even though my das is compromised, even though my ability to integrate these intellectual, spiritual concepts, nevertheless, I can still rely on something called emunah. The emunah is called balayla hazeh. Okay? When do you need emunah? When you don't see. When do you not need emunah? When you see. So when do I see? By yoyim hazeh. By yoyim hazeh. Nagila v'nismech avoy. I'm joyous, I'm glad, I'm happy. There's a full revelation, there's nothing concealing. Balayla hazeh means that I'm still in a state of incarceration, I'm still in a state of compromise, and nevertheless, at least I know I am. And I know that there's hope. This is called emunah. You need emunah, you need the what's it called? The backup energy. That you believe with full belief. You don't necessarily know because you haven't integrated, you don't have the tools to integrate it powerfully enough. Because there's still a vacillation between good and negativity. You still have an attraction to the negative. If there's still attraction to the negative, you need emunah.
There's no... What's the point of seeing to believing? It's not true.
Yeah, meaning seeing you don't need to believe. Yeah? Seeing you don't need to believe. Once you see, there's no need to believe. Believe is I believe you because I don't see, because I didn't see. Yeah? If you have emunah, then you're able to make it as if you see. But in order for this, you need chomer leveinim. No, in order to cultivate, in order to trigger the emunah within the soul, you need chomer leveinim. You need mortar and you need bricks. Like it happened in Egypt 210 years, for 210 years. That what were they doing? They were producing mortar and bricks. So now, he's going to say something different, but I'm just giving it in context here. Yeah, the emunah was being, the skill set for emunah was being cultivated for 210 years. That's what they were working on. The expression of that, he says, as a I think this is from the Zohar, what is our ability to cultivate our emunah? What is our brick and mortar? We have to learn Torah. Learning Torah is the avodah of brick and mortar for the Jewish people. We have to enslave ourselves to Torah. The enslavement to Torah produces and cultivates the skill set for a deeper sense of emunah. Are we going to have revelation? We may not have revelation. Is it going to be absolutely real by us? Maybe not. But at the end of the day, we're putting ourselves in a position to cultivate the sixth sense of the soul called emunah. So similar to the Jewish people, there was no revelation for 210 years. They didn't have a Moshe Rabbeinu. They didn't have the Makkos. They didn't have Kriyas Yamsuf. But what were they doing at that time? They were waiting for the day that Moshe Rabbeinu would come. They were waiting for Mashiach. And the wait for Mashiach requires a sense of concealment. But it has to be balayla hazeh. It has to be in this night. So now, what is that? What is that for us? Learning Torah. When I learn Torah, I know it's God. But do I see God? I'm learning Rambam. No, I'm learning today's Chumash. Very, very, very nuanced, very detailed. Where's Elokus? It's balayla. Torah is balayla. It's not revelation. Pnimiyas Torah maybe a little bit more. But even Pnimiyas Torah is also balayla. Where's Chachma? Where's Bina? Where's Toya? Where's Tikkun? Where are these things? So therefore, the notion of Torah is likened to Chaymer Uvilvein, mortar and brick. And how is that expressed? In the various methodologies of how to learn Torah. One methodology is Kal v'chomer. So when it says the word chomer, when the Jewish people were involved with mortar, it was a euphemism, it was a poetic expression to explain, it was really, they were creating the notion of Kal v'chomer. That when you learn Torah, you can use the methodology of Kal v'chomer, something light to something heavy. Right? If this is like this, then surely it's like that. Uvilveinim, what's leveinim? Leveinim means brick, but it etymologically is connected to the word libun. Libun means to whiten. To whiten. Da libun hilchasa. That was the whitening or clarification of halacha. So when the Jewish people were involving themselves in brick and mortar, spiritually speaking, what were they doing? They were inducing the possibility for the world to be receptive to Torah, and in Torah itself, creating various methodologies of how to understand Torah better. and all of the works of the field, this is a brisa. What's a brisa? A brisa is basically a Mishnah that did not get canonized in the Mishnah. Brisa from the word bar, which means outside. Right? Bar v'chutz, outside. So a brisa is a Mishnah that didn't enter into the canon of Mishnayos. That's called basada. That like the field is outside of the city. Ube'emes, and in truth, kol ha'mekabel alav el Torah, anybody who accepts upon themselves the yoke of Torah, nu, koilo members, ma'avidin mimenu al derech eretz. You withdraw, you abrogate the need for the burden of derech eretz, nu, of making a living. Ach kol apoidik chuli. However, anybody who abrogates the burden of learning Torah, noisin alav oil derech eretz, is placed upon him the burden of trying to make money. So if you're connected in a way that you feel that this is my bread and butter, this is my money, no, like Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, Torasui umnasai, that his Torah was his livelihood, then automatically you'll know, everybody knows, no, he's the batlin. He's the guy who's just learning all day. Does he need a job? Maybe it's good for him, but at the end of the day, Torah is his job. But the moment that you precast oil, right, that you rid yourself and say, no, I have to limit myself to the realm of nature, then that gets imposed upon you. However, even a person who involves himself in derech eretz, even a person who has to go to business, so you'll say what? He's going to get lost in Amazon, he's going to get lost in real estate, he's going to get lost in any of the money-making machinations and schemes that he thinks he's going to produce, yet he could still be spiritually sensitive to the point of halayla hazeh. He can know that it's all false. He can know that it's all untrue. He can know that at the end of the day, I'm halayla, but I'm hazeh. Laila is the weekday. Hazeh is Shabbos. So the businessman can say, you know what? At the end of the day, I know this is how I am during the week. I'm a hustle and bustle grind mode. But at the end of the day, I'm sensitive enough to know that I'm waiting for Shabbos. Hazeh. Yeah. The idea is Sheshala Kadosh Baruch Hu was ma kol gadya. What is this idea? That Hashem requests, Hashem asks of the divine worlds, of the heavenly worlds, ma kol gadya. What is the voice of the goat? Ve'eshivu heim shehu kol bnei Yisrael. The voice of the goat is the voice of the Jewish people. Ve'ech shayach lefanav yisbarach sheshal mehem. So this is cryptic. How can Hashem ask of the heavenly worlds anything? Why does Hashem need to even ask anything? Isn't everything revealed before him, and therefore why does he have to have any inquiring? However, the concept is, so two things. Number one, why is Hashem even asking any questions? And number two, what is this question? What is this question of what is the bleat? How are you?